You ever have a fucking idiot moment? So I decided to revisit my rev limiter because over the weekend at the track, a guy grenaded his engine. They changed the transmission and it didn't change the shifter. Actually, something I'm going to do now after seeing this at the track. I've been shifting backwards on a forward pattern shifter. So what happens is when you're in second, you're in the middle of the shift gate. You can shift back into first because from first to second, you have to hold the trigger, hit down. And from, to go in the third, you have to hold it again. But I don't know exactly what shifter they had. But for me, it works out good because from 1 to 2, I have to use the trigger. And then 2 to 3 is just a bump. So in this case, the guy shifted from second back into first and grenaded the rods out of the engine, oiled down the track. Big reason why we left, right? So I decided to give this a shot again because after witnessing that, it's like, you know what? I kind of pushed this engine on the ragged edge, and for what's going to happen next, I'm definitely going to need it. So I came out here and I decided to put it on, and I was talking with JJ, Twin J Racing, which he made that awesome video for us yesterday, and I posted it up. After watching him ohm the wires, and I was talking to him, and he's like, well, if your wires got a ton of resistance, they'll throw out a bunch of, RFI. So he's like, check them, which my plug wires checked out good. They probably could be better, but they're within spec. And so I checked that out. I added a bunch of grounds because I had a really bad tach signal. So I added a ground from the block to the frame. I added a ground from the valve cover to the firewall, and I still have my one long ground, which is kind of a no-no, but that's been working for years as a ground. But I added grounds, and my tach signal definitely went in the right direction. So the reason why I did not leave the rev limiter on last time is because I'm a fucking idiot. So these little pots they have on here, these little switches, you could see they have an arrow. I thought the arrow was for the cylinder. Man law number 1, don't read instructions. Just figure out what wires do what and just take over, right? Well, in the instructions, it says right here. Now, you guys can pause it, but it says on here somewhere where it says a white dot on the rotary position of the switch indicates the switch position. Well, I think I had this thing set to like 4 cylinders. And this thing was idling like fucking pig fat. It was still amazingly revving really good, just super slow. So I knew something was up. But I actually downloaded the PDF for the instructions today at lunch because I forgot I had them or where I had them, but I found them. They were actually on my bench. And I remember when I was skimming through the instructions about the white dot, right? So I'm looking at the switches and I'm like, there is a white dot there. I'm like, maybe that's it. So I went back to the directions. And of course I reset it, fired up the car, boom, rev. Because this thing will rev to 4,000 in a snap. So, so I put the rev limiter back on. Now, why do I need the rev limiter? Well, the Cordova BOP race is coming up. And it's it's a really nice track, super smooth track. I've raced there before, and the weather is always right. It's the end of September. You get like 50-degree nights. This is our opportunity. They're right by the Mississippi River, so it kind of gets pretty cold at night down there. The last time we went, it was cold. So the goal is, we're just going to all together say fuck the 750 and put the 850 in. We're still going to bring that with us. But for now, we're going to just go ahead and put the 850 on. And I'm going to go ahead and make the torque converter swap. I have 1 week, little over a week to make this happen. The goal is on Sunday, do the torque converter swap. Now, I'm going to do this here at home because I know where everything is in here. Between the lift and it's... At work, sometimes it's a little bit more consuming to have it on the lift versus doing it on the ground. And since I'm only swapping the converter, I actually don't have to drop the entire trans. So in this situation, I'm going to do it like I did last time, which is just drop the trans a little bit, pop it out, pop it in, be done with it. The last time I did a torque converter swap in the garage on the ground, it only took me 3.5 hours start to finish. And that's because I have to drop my starter, drop my headers, drop my exhaust, all that fun shit. Pretty much almost as I was going to do a full transmission swap. But just because of the inherent things we got going on, I got to do it. So that's kind of good that worked out, and it's good that my plug wires are good. I am going to have to order a second oxygen sensor. I think my oxygen sensor took a shit. It's either the position of it or, I think it's because of where I put it, because of the cutouts. I think I need to actually bring it further back, upstream or downstream. I forgot what I was reading, to be honest with you. But either way, this thing will run fine with the exhaust capped. And then as soon as I open it up, it throws me an E8 error. So I think it's seeing way too much. I think actually at the there's a little bit too much reversion for it, and it sees too much air, and it thinks that it's metering 22.8 the whole time, which I actually was reading about with turbo guys on one of the forums. So either way, we're gonna go ahead, change the carburetor, change a torque converter, and hopefully at this point, you know what? I kind of give up on racing competitively. I just want to see how fast this thing can go. I really had my heart set on racing at Byron, Saturday and Sunday, and then Sunday we only made one pass. So I was banking on racing one day and testing another day. So at Cordova, we're going to see how much we can run it Friday, and then we'll see what happens Saturday, and we'll see how good it runs. The torque converter is a no-brainer that it's going to work. This car needs more torque converter. No doubt about it. The carburetor, we'll find out. I mean, most of the time you want to do these changes one thing at a time, but to be honest with you, I'm beyond that. I've always been the kind of guy that makes a bunch of changes and just goes for it, and it's cumulative because one thing has to complement another, I guess, in my mind. So it's just been the way I've always done things. I've never done one modification at a time. I always just do a bunch of them and just run it, and people say that's stupid because you don't know what does what. Well, I know what combination of things will work, and it's not the most scientific, but it has always worked for me. And, as I mentioned, at Byron, the track conditions weren't the best, but the car ran pretty close. I mean, it fell off by like a tenth and a half, which isn't too bad. On paper, I think our 760 is somewhere between an 11, like 9 something and a 12.0. So it was the car, despite the conditions and being one of the first cars that ran up, it ran pretty good. So this car has always kind of just ran the same numbers ever since we got it dialed in last year. And I think this is the time to turn up the wick. The weather is going to be good. And now that I got the rev limiter, I got a little bit more peace of mind, but I still have to drive it. So I think I'm going to put the street tires on it, maybe take it for a drive tomorrow, make sure that it's going to function. And go from there. So, I mean, I'm not going to try to take it to 7,000 on the street. I'm just going to make sure that the car runs good through the RPM and there's going to be no interruption to the spark. And then from there, we'll figure it out at the track. If not, then all I got to do is cut 2 wires, splice 2 back in, and go back to the Madden method of just watching the shift light, making sure I don't let it get away from me. So, either way, guys, I hope you guys are enjoying stuff that we got going on. It's kind of been getting busy, so I've had a lot of little videos going on. Saturday, definitely going over by JJ's. We're going to get that thing hopefully running, and hopefully everything works out. Again, guys, there's a lot of things that we are rolling the dice on. A lot of people have helped us out, and both JJ and I appreciate it a lot because this is kind of a know-nothing project where we're trying to spend as little as possible, and you guys know it from the get-go. And hopefully Saturday we'll have something for you guys, and it'll be like good times. So share, like, subscribe. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me as Copper Cutlass on there. I don't really do anything on Facebook, so don't really. I mean, if you know me, whatever, you can add me as a friend if you haven't already. But my personal matters on Facebook are more like memes and shit because I'm above that, I guess. So either way, I'll let you guys go. I've blabbered on enough. I fucking stink like fuel because when this thing was running on 4 cylinders, it was fucking putridly fat. So I got to go clip my dog's nails, but I'm sure my wife won't appreciate me stinking. So I have to go shower yet again. So I'll let you guys go.